What's up everyone? My name is Sleepwell, and today I want to show you a very interesting protocol on the Terra network called Aperture Finance. It's currently in beta and you would need to request access, but it's an easy process to get accepted. It took me just 4 days to get access to the platform, and all you gotta do is click join waitlist, fill out this little form right here, then submit it, wait a couple days, and you would be all set. So the original premise for this protocol is that it would be a cross-chain DeFi strategy marketplace where customers could participate in forming the yield strategies, but I don't think that's the case right now since there is no participation mechanisms yet. There is mentions of a governance token being released, and I was able to get some info on that from their Discord. I'll be sharing that at the end of the video. Currently, it looks like they're only publishing strategies that they've made in-house, and I'm not sure how long it would take them to get to the promised functionality, but honestly, the stuff that they're offering now is very impressive, so let's check it out. So they've got some pools here for synthetic stocks and some crypto. They have Bitcoin, they have Polkadot, and they have Ethereum, and the yields on these pools are pretty impressive. The highest is 35% APY on United States Oil Fund, and the lowest is 21% APY on S&P 500. Keep in mind that this is the yield on stablecoins, because that's exactly you would be depositing UST, and as the name states, all of these pools are delta neutral. If you don't know what delta neutral is, it's essentially an investment strategy where you open two opposing positions against the same asset. In this case, that would be United States Oil Fund, and these two positions are canceling each other out. So if United States Oil Fund goes up, you're not earning anything, and if it goes down, you're not losing anything. And that allows you to earn some yield through farming, and that's pretty much where this 35% APY is coming from. And Aperture Finance actually has a very detailed flowchart in their docs that gives you a step-by-step guide of what happens when you deposit your funds into one of these pools. So let's check it out. As I've said earlier, in the delta neutral strategy, you have to open two opposing positions, and that's exactly what Aperture does for you. They open a short farm for you and a long farm. Let's go over the short farm first. The first thing they do is they take 2/3 of your funds and deposit that into Anchor and get AUST. Then they take AUST and deposit that as collateral on Mirror Protocol, and then they open a short position against the stock that you've picked. The proceeds from shorting the tokens are locked for 2 weeks before being released and then used in farming of the long position on TerraSwap. Meanwhile, the SLP tokens, which stand for Short Liquidity Provider tokens, are staked and earn short farm yield. Now, let's go over the long position. Luckily for us, it's much simpler. With 1/3 of your funds, they purchase the stock, and then after 2 weeks, they deposit that along with the UST from the short position into the TerraSwap liquidity pool. Then, those liquidity pool tokens are staked on Spectrum, which is a yield aggregator, and then you start earning yield. And that's it. This is exactly what happens with your funds when you use any of these delta neutral pools. And for all this work, Aperture only takes 10% of your profits. Sounds like a pretty good deal for me, considering how complicated this is. Now, let's talk about some of the drawbacks of the protocol, and there's a couple of them. The first one is that it's in beta, and that means that there could be some bugs, there could be some performance issues, and stuff like that, which means that you're just a beta tester and you're risking your funds by participating in this protocol. Now, if you're a degen, that may not be a big deal for you, but if you're risk averse, you may not want to use this protocol until it's fully out, and I completely understand that. And the next drawback is pretty big, and it's related to mobility of your funds if you end up using this protocol. The first is that you can only withdraw full amounts from the pool. So if you deposited $5,000 and over time you've made $200, so your new total is $5,200, you can only withdraw $5,200. You can't withdraw just $200. You have to withdraw the full amount. And that's pretty unfavorable, but understandable. That's done because of the complexity of the whole strategy. And on top of that, when you deposit your funds for the first time, there is a 2-week period where you're getting very low APY, and that's because of those steps where you have to wait 2 weeks. And obviously that's out of the Aperture's control. This is related to how Mirror works, but that's still something to consider. You're depositing your funds, and the first 2 weeks, you'll probably be earning like 12% APY, not the 35% APY that's promised here. Just gotta wait it out, but that's still something to consider. And last but not least is the fact that there is a chance of getting liquidated. If you click invest, here there's a fees and settings tab, and here you have to pick your target collateral ratio, and that would determine by how much the underlying asset has to increase in price for your short position from here, this one, to get liquidated. The default one that they set for you automatically is 270%, and that would mean that the underlying asset has to go up by 80%, which is pretty high for stocks, right? So it should be pretty safe, but that's still a potential risk that you're taking on. Obviously, you can slide the slider to the right, and your APY would decrease, but your risk of getting liquidated pretty much disappears. This underlying asset has to go up by 167%, which would be a pretty unusual event if that happens. So it's not as hands-off as you may think. There's still some things that you need to control, and this is one of them. Definitely not for amateurs. If you just want to, deposit your funds and completely forget about them, you should probably use Anchor. But if you want to take some risks and get a higher yield on your stables, you can use that instead. And the last thing I want to talk about is the token for this protocol. Now, I went through their Discord, went through the admin messages, and I can confirm that there is a token launch planned for sometime in Q2 2022, and that means that they could potentially reward their early users. So maybe you're not that excited for this whole delta neutral thing. You may still want to deposit some funds into any of these pools, just in case they decide to reward the early users. That's how it usually goes. Protocols prefer to reward the people that have been here from the very beginning, and you could be one of those people by just using the protocol a little bit. So yeah, that's personally what I'm gonna do. I'm still a little risk averse. I don't want to put too much money into this, but I will put some of it just to use the protocol and potentially qualify for any type of airdrop if they ever do one. So yeah, hopefully you liked the video, hopefully you learned something new, and thanks for watching.